Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call the regular meeting of council to order for Monday, March 7th, 2016. An introduction of late items, Mr. Ferrero.
Thank you, Your Worship. We're removing item 9C2 from proper maintenance bylaw. So 9C number 2, 2485 Marlborough Drive. And that's all I have, Your Worship.
Okay. Is there any late items by council? No? Okay. So I need an adoption of the agenda as delivered.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Thorpe, seconded by Councillor Bestwick. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. I need a motion for the adoption of the 4 minutes of February the 1st, 2016 at 5 o'clock, February the 1st, 2016, 7 o'clock, February the 15th at 5 o'clock, and February the 15th at 7 o'clock. All four. I'll make a motion. Councillor Yoakum, seconded Councillor Pratt. Any questions on those? No? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. I have now a presentation from Mr. Mike Holik from the Nanaimo Minor Baseball Association. If you can come to the mic and introduce yourselves. And I believe is a presentation with at least 10 minutes or more. Now it is. Oh, Jeremy and I are fighting each other. Good job. It's on now. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I want to thank the council for having us present here this evening. Special thank you to Councillor Bestwick for having us added to the agenda. Thank you, Bill. My colleagues here from the Nanaimo Minor Baseball, I have Jeremy McKinnon to my right. Jeremy's the vice president. And to my left is Doug Neff, who's the director of fields. My name is Michael Hollick. I'm the president in the Nanaimo Minor Baseball. And this evening, we will be presenting a proposal for the city's financial support for the Mariner Baseball Field Lighting Project.
Looks like a short.
Or move to my right, Bill. So the Nanaimo Minor Baseball celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. Was founded in 1956. And our mandate is to provide baseball programming to the youth in Nanaimo. We have over 625 players registered last year. I expect a bit of a bump in registration this year with the success of the Blue Jays. We program for ages 5 to 18 across 7 divisions, and we're part of the BC Baseball Association. There's 51 member associations in BC Baseball, so it's a province-wide association representing 15,000 youth. We've enjoyed a strong partnership with the City of Nanaimo and the community service clubs to develop facilities. You can't drive past a field here in Nanaimo and not see a service club or a volunteer organization that hasn't contributed. 3rd Street Gyro Fields, it's the Roxman Stadium, Sid Clark Gyro Park, and the Rotary Fieldhouse are our facilities that we use. So the Mariner Field 3rd Street Field project, we have a budget of $325,000. This is what I would call a public-private community partnership. We have an application to the Toronto Blue Jays Field of Dreams grant program. And Jeremy's going to get into that a little bit in his presentation. We're requesting $150,000. I think everybody would agree if we could take a check back from Toronto, that would be a great thing, especially from Rogers Media. Requested funding from the city, $175,000. In addition, we've lined up community support on the engineering, construction from the Nanaimo Minor Baseball Association. Jeremy will get into that a little more. What's the benefit to the association and the city? Expanded baseball programming hours. Currently, we have over 15 teams competing for 90-foot baseball space. We've really seen an increase in the amount of teams looking. These lights would provide approximately 21 hours a week and just about 600 hours annually of extra field time. So we can accomplish all that without having to build another field. It would complement the existing 3 fields at the 3rd Street complex, the batting cage and the bullpen facility. For the city, what does it do? Well, I think it provides us an opportunity to go out and host more regional, provincial, national championships. Sports tourism, I know, is a big part of the city's agenda in terms of driving economic development here. Tournaments traditionally attract 8 to 10 teams from out of town to Nanaimo, on average 2 to 3 hotel nights. You do the math and it adds up quickly. This year alone, we'll be hosting 3 different tournaments, the BC Bantam AAA Provincials, the BC Senior Men's Provincials, and we have a regional tadpole tournament. All in all, we expect over 300 families to visit Nanaimo this summer for the sole purpose of playing and watching baseball as a result of these 3 tournaments and our regular field of play. So to those who are outside of the baseball community, this might seem like an exceptional ask. I put together 2 slides here that show fields. Bill, I know you played on a few of these. It's not all that exceptional, the ask. In fact, we might be the only city of our size that doesn't have this capability currently in the province. So Norbrock Stadium in Kamloops, Butler Field, Trail, Citizen Field, Prince George, Elk Stadium in Kelowna, Latrace Field, Royal Athletic Park in Victoria, which is the home of the Victoria Harbour Cats in the WCL League. So I'll pass the baton over to Jeremy now. I do want to thank you for your time and consideration. We do appreciate the support the city gives us. We appreciate the partnership we have with the Parks and Rec Department, and thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Now, with regards to the Toronto Blue Jays Care Foundation.
Well, that's it, Jim.
That's it? And, okay. In about December of 2014, we met and I started looking down the road of trying to get lights at one of our facilities. When I first moved to Nanaimo in 2002, I fell in love with the facilities that we had with Sir Oxman Stadium, and then a little bit longer later we developed Mariner Field. We've got all the Third Street fields all in one location. Baseball there is a great location in the city. You come down that road, you see the baseball fields, and there's a bit of soccer happening. You go down a little bit further, you see Nanaimo Ice Center, you see Sir Oxman Stadium, you see NAC. It's just a great entry for the city. Now, I've grew up playing underneath baseball lights with the Medicine Hat Blue Jays, with a lot of athletic park there, and we also had Jefferson Field, 2 lighted facilities in Medicine Hat, a city population of 50,000. I moved to Lethbridge. We had 1 lighted facility there with a city population of roughly 75,000 people there, and then I came here and I noticed that we didn't have lights for young kids to play under. So in December of 2014, I put together the full application package. It was about 4 pages long for the Blue Jays Care Foundation, and I sent it off to them, hoping to hear back from them. And about 2 months later, I got a phone call from one of the ladies who was working there, and she loved the idea of supporting Nanaimo baseball. She loves the community. We've had the opportunity to have Blue Jays baseball camps in Nanaimo, where Roberto Alomar and his father came in and had baseball camps here, and he loved the city as well. Actually, this year we're going to have Roberto Alomar back again for another evening, so it's really good. And she right away asked if we could start approaching the city and the authority having jurisdiction to see if we can generate support from the city to work together with the Toronto Blue Jays. And we managed to make it through to round 2. However, at the time, she says, you don't have the secured funding and the secured interest from the city of Nanaimo, so we'll put you on the side for right now, and please come back again. Please discuss things with your city and come back. So that's what we did. We put everything to the side on the side burner for a little while, and then in January of this year, I completed the application again, updated everything. We managed to go and meet with Richard and Ian with the Parks and Recs Commission. I believe it was in December or so when we first presented the project so that the city councilman can actually start seeing what we're working on. And right now, Blue Jays have taken our application, and I've put on there that we're just waiting to discuss things over with the city of Nanaimo, and that's kind of where we're sitting at right now. So at this point, there's not much else I could say with regards to the grant application, other than it's just really for the kids and trying to have them enjoy a lidded baseball game. So thank you.
At this point, if there's any questions from council, we'd be happy to answer. We provided a technical package. It's way beyond my scope, so I've got 2 gentlemen who are much smarter than me that can answer to that.
So I see some questions here. Councillor Yoakum, thank you very much. Excellent presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, gentlemen, for the presentation, which I'm really pleased to see, because I always felt like baseball sort of falls under the radar in the city, considering there's the great teams and players that have come out of our city. The question I would have, Mike, is, why not Sir Oxman? for my first one. I'll actually answer each one at a time. I've got a couple questions here, please.
Councillor Yocum, we don't have the deed. I mean, really, if we had the deed to Roxman Stadium, if we didn't have the relationship, I wouldn't say the barrier, but at the end of the day, sinking capital into that stadium is a real challenge without kind of securing the long-term future. We've met with them 3 times in the last 2.5 years. We're working on that relationship, but we don't have the deed. I don't think making money that stadium makes sense. We spend $50,000 roughly a year just on annual maintenance, and that stretches our budget. So,
Okay, thanks. That's unfortunate, but that's another conversation another day. Maybe down the road we'll have 2 fields with more lights if this goes through. But nevertheless, I just was for a reason I was having a brain cramp. I was assuming Robbins Park, but this is the 3rd Street one beside the Aquatic Center, and Nick. So would soccer be available to use this benefit as well
yeah, I mean,
in the off season?
Sure. So the footprint that we've put forward would probably include, permanent fencing, because the perimeter would be. That being said, I'm at the field on a regular basis. I've been with the association for 5 years. We found that usage at the field specifically for soccer isn't what it was when it was first built. The turf facilities have soaked up a lot of that use. If we did this project, we could accomplish a couple of the 6-on-6 fields inside of the perimeter fencing and allow for the soccer use on SF1 and SF2, or if people are familiar. So this project would make Mariner Field a baseball facility, but there would be an opportunity to play youth or 6-on-6 inside of the perimeter of the fencing and the lights. And with lights, again, more soccer in the time that we're not using it.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just to wrap up, actually, I just want to acknowledge and thank the hard work of you guys in the previous year. Predecessors have done, all the volunteers. Doug, yourself, gentlemen, Sir, I just met Mike, and just be nice to get more lights. For example, last year in the city, baseball came alive game was even senior men's. I think had 6 teams, and they could play into the wee hours and promote baseball, which would be great to bring it back. So thank you for your presentation. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I actually like it. Thanks.
Next in queue, Councillor Bestwick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mike and Jeremy and Doug. I appreciate you coming. Councillor Yocum addressed one of my questions as it related to the lights in general to be able to provide offerings on the other fields, and I think you touched and addressed that for me. My other question simply is, how time sensitive is this request for funding?
In our opinion, this would be a 2017 project. We would have it shovel ready in our view, January, February of next year. And I believe the Blue Jays would be amenable if there's a commitment from the city to set that money aside for a start date of January 1st next year. We're too late into the season to do anything. Quite frankly, it doesn't make sense.
Thank you. If I may just have a follow-up, Mr. Chair. Not so much whether or not the work could be done for now, but when you're making said request or said application for matching funding, essentially, your application goes in 2016 for a 2017 project. Is that fair?
That's fair, but we won't get a third shot with the Blue Jays. Last year we got quite far without, the support, and maybe it was the inexperience of us as a group in raising money. If we don't secure the funding and we have that in front of them this year and say we're in the same position as we were last year, I think we've all been in business, done presentations and put proposals together. I doubt we'll get a third opportunity. We have developed an excellent relationship with the Blue Jays. As Jeremy alluded to, I'm excited to soon announce we'll have, a Hall of Famer in Robbie Alomar doing a fundraiser in this community in short order. So they know where we are. We've done 2 of the Honda Blue Jays camps, but I don't think we can go back to a third time. So that's the urgency in terms of the support from council, is get something and a commitment for now. Project can be completed next year.
Thank you. Yeah, I apologize. So just for my clarity and those that are observing or watching, this Blue Jay Foundation money is conditional on a 50%
Yeah,
commitment
we've done
from
the budget here. The $150,000 is the limit they'll provide. we're not in a position to write a check for $175,000. We have in-kind support from the community. We have some funds for completion, above and beyond that 325, but the 175 is critical for this to go forward.
And when must you make that application in 2016 for 2017?
Currently, right now, by the end of March, beginning part of April is when they make their decision to go to round 2.
I'm sorry, can you be a little bit more specific? Because we're in March now, so.
At the beginning, where are we at now? We're at the middle of March, at the beginning of April is when they step forward to round 2. So they collect all of the applications at the end of January, then there's a 2-month time period for the board there to review the applications, and then they either say yay or nay to the groups to make it to round 2.
So they'll shortlist to the next stage.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Thorpe.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks very much, Mike, Jeremy, and Doug. Good presentation. And I already have heard you, of course, at the Parks and Recreation Commission. Really appreciate the work that Minor Ball has done over 60 years in our community. I used to be heavily involved myself. And I was always very proud of the fact that I helped construct Sir Oxman Stadium. But now I think those fields on 3rd Street are really spectacular. And I can quite understand that that is where lighting would naturally go if we could do that project. So just to follow up on Councillor Bestwick's question, to make sure that I have this correct, you basically have to show the Blue Jays organization that you have $175,000 before they will consider chipping in their $150,000.
Exactly. If you look at the projects they've done coast to coast, they've been in partnership with the associations and the communities. They're not looking to solve all the problems; they're looking to help. So we need the support. Otherwise, it doesn't go. We don't get one.
And again, just so I'm clear, when would you need to be able to show them that money? What's the time deadline?
Monday would be good.
Yeah, I know.
But as Jeremy's outlined, I think we have a couple weeks here to get that into them. And get it in front of them so they can make those decisions over the next 2 months to get us to that second and or final decision.
Okay, and again, as much and all as I appreciate the work of Minor Ball and certainly would be supportive of you, I think you need to understand the reality that we've already been in budget deliberations. We have a proposed budget. We've also gone through priority setting for capital projects, and this project was not on our radar at that time. So you've sort of thrown us a curveball, can I use that term? But I'm certainly we'll have some questions for staff and see what we can come up with. Thank you.
Two more questions here. Councillor Hong.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. There are 4 fields there, right? Am I correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Are you lighting all 4, or is this just one?
Just the one field at the moment.
Okay, the main field then, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that field will be for 18U and 15U. We can't keep the 11U and the 9U up at that late at night, but what it does is it frees up that field space. The older kids can play later into the evening, and that just frees up space all along the system. In addition, on the shoulder, anybody who's been to that facility, the shadow of Mount Benson, causes daylight to diminish there very quickly. So it's a peculiar, it's got its own weather pattern there, and it's got its own shadow issue. So it gets darker there quicker.
Yeah. Thank you. And then just to follow up, there's a couple others if I may. Thank you. Are these going to be LED lights?
We just discussed that, Jeremy. There is an option for LED. Musco is the supplier. I believe Musco has supplied the lights for the turf fields. They're a well-known and reputable supplier. If LED makes sense, they are more costly. Jeremy mentioned that we could look at that in the proposal. He did mention, though, that there's some controversy around LED and whether there's cost savings. My analogy, it's kind of like when steak used to be bad for you and then they tell you later on that it's actually good for you. So we can look into that. We recognize that that's a big, that's important going forward. But at this point, the proposal is for a traditional lighting system.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that was one of my pushes, is pushing towards LED. Lighting was one of the key things, and I think LED lighting did make the list of capital projects, so if we can slide this one in under that one. But
I like what you're thinking, Councillor.
and another note about that was 170. So the total project is 325.
Yes.
You need 175,
Yep.
and then the balance was going to be 150. But what happens if they don't come up with 150? Like you're saying that that's the maximum that they'll do. What happens if they're going to come back and say, well, we're only going to give you 50?
We're incredibly industrious. As I say, this fundraiser that we have that hopefully we'll be able to announce shortly in July, we'll just have to work harder from our standpoint. Again, I think we can really rally the community. It's harder for the city to come to the community and ask for a deal. I don't know that you guys get deals. We get deals. We're very well connected. We've got a great board who works hard. So I think the Blue Jays, they indicated last year, was a strong proposal. So I'm confident. But if it means that we have to add to council's support, we'll find a way. I think just the building of the 3rd Street fields themselves is a testament to what NMBA is willing to do to get the facilities that they need.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike and Jeremy, I see no further questions. And Doug, thank you very much. So I appreciate the time and the presentation, and I'm not certain if we'll have anything later as a motion or send this back to staff for input and resolve. So
Thanks very much.
Do we need a motion to receive a presentation? Motion to receive? So moved. Moved by Councillor Pratt, seconded by Councillor Thorpe. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. There is nothing. Oh, we have a mayor's report. I'd like to turn the microphone over to Councillor Bestwick for a quick update on the mayor's report. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. To the audience within our confines here this evening and to those at home, it is truly my honor and privilege to deliver this message. The message is that the appointment of Ms. Tracy Samra as our city manager in a permanent capacity, and on behalf of council, it is with great pleasure tonight that we formally announce our decision to appoint Tracy Samra to the position of Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Nanaimo. This appointment follows a successful and busy 3 months during which time Tracy served as the interim city manager. A great deal was accomplished during this period, including an organizational restructuring, development of the provisional 2016 financial plan, and commencement of the core services review, among many other things, many other firsts. With these key initiatives well underway, Council is confident that progress will continue to be achieved with Tracy's leadership and commitment to the city securely in place. As you would expect, Tracy brings a depth of experience and perspective to her new role. Originally from Edmonton, Tracy is a member of the Saddle Lake Cree Nation and descendant of the Red River Métis. Her life on Vancouver Island started in Victoria, where she attended St. Michael's University School and was later accepted into the law program at the University of Victoria, where she obtained her Bachelor of Laws, followed by her time at the University of Ottawa, where she obtained her Master of Laws. As a lawyer, Tracy articled at Davis LLP and later worked at Borden, Lander, Gervais, Canada's largest law firm, where she provided legal counsel to Toronto's Bay Street businesses and companies. Beyond the corporate boardroom, Tracy has considerable experience in many areas of First Nations governance and community development, having served in the following senior roles at both the federal and provincial level. Senior Adjudicator for the Indian Residential Schools Adjudication Secretariat, Executive Director, Strategy Policy Branch for the Province of British Columbia's Ministry of Aboriginal Relations and Reconciliation, and Associate Regional Director General, Regional Operations for Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development, Canada. Her public sector experience has led her to work closely with many of Canada's key First Nation organizations, including the Aboriginal Healing Foundation, the Aboriginal Financial Officers Association, and Indigenous and Northern Affairs Canada. As a civil servant, Tracy is intimately familiar with government operations, including the running of departments responsible for public works, land use planning, zoning, environmental assessment and protection, housing, community buildings, government services, recreation, social service, economic development, and policing. The administration of government funding agreements, program delivery, and services. Negotiations with industry regarding resource development and impact benefit agreements, and is a graduate of the Canada School of Public Service. Once again, Ms. Samra, it is my honor to deliver this message on behalf of all of Council, to left and right. I know that our community is going to be in great hands with your leadership and dedication. Congratulations on your appointment. Council is thrilled to be working with you and with the great staff that you will be leading. There is much work for this Council and much heavy lifting to do, and we're most confident in our decision to be working with you as we continue to move Nanaimo forward. Thank you and congratulations.
Nothing you've done in your previous lifetime will ever amount to what you will achieve here. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So there's nothing further on the mayor's report and our administration. We're moving now to 8, corporate services, and the proposed parkland exchange between 1515 Dufferin Crescent and 69 Lorne Place. The purpose is to obtain council authorization to exchange privately owned land at 1515 Dufferin Crescent for part of a city-owned Beaufort Park at 69 Lorne Place. The exchange will require an alternative approval process, the AAP, to proceed. We have a delegation. I would invite Mrs. Donna Haas from the Canadian Cash Development Corporation as a delegation. Welcome. Please give us your name and your address.
Thank you. My name is Donna Hayes. I'm with Canadian Cash Development Corporation. My address is 6040 Hammond Bay Road, Nanaimo, BC, V19 5M4.
You have 10 minutes, or if you require more.
As you mentioned, Councillor Kipp, our application is for the direct exchange of some of our property at 1515 Dufferin Crescent for part of the parkland, which is directly behind us, known as Beaufort Park. I know that city has some photos that are hopefully included within your package, so you're familiar with the space. If you're familiar with Dufferin Crescent at all, you will have driven by our site where we have demolished a couple of buildings behind the Beaufort Centre Plaza, as we all commonly know it, and where we've done our hazmat work and done our demolition there to clear the site. The purpose of the exchange of land, and it really is a net 0-0, so it's 890 square feet either way. It's not taking land from the park and getting more for our development, but the purpose is to square up our back property line. And the reason for that is to allow for development that you'll see us putting together a development permit proposal for in the next couple of months, which is for a new medical facility and a parkade. So if you're familiar with the hospital area at all, you will know that parking is a huge issue for all of us in that area. The exchange is, though, part of just a small part of a larger discussion that we're currently part of. And it actually started for us in 1995, and it's what we're calling the hospital campus. In 1995, our company invested first in a new medical facility called Seafield Medical Center on Seafield Crescent. We then moved into development of Harbour City Health Center across the street from the hospital on Dufferin Crescent. We've got a couple more medical buildings over on Bowen Road, over on Townsite, and a year and a half ago you saw us complete Millstone Medical Center, kitty corner to the hospital. In each of our developments, we've striven to create new opportunities for the hospital campus. So it's not just about medical infrastructure buildings for doctors' offices, it's about creating opportunities and creating infrastructure for patients, as well as for the doctors and the 2,500 medical staff who work at the hospital every day. So our first building on Seafield saw us brought a private daycare surgical facility to the area. Our next building saw us involve compounding pharmacists, the kind of pharmacists who actually make your prescription drugs and correspond with our medical specialists to be leading edge in what we need to provide to our patients in Nanaimo. One of our developments saw us bring in a dental perspective to our medical facilities. We've also been able to partner with the Hospital Foundation, and you'll find their offices in our Madsen Center building. And you'll see at Millstone Medical Center, we partnered with them to create Code Brew, a coffee shop. We were lacking food services for not only our people who were working at the hospital, but for those who are coming to visit their family, whether it be in palliative care or in peds. We need somewhere for people to get out of the hospital and be able to have a good meal. We partnered with the Hospital Foundation, understanding the money they make goes directly back into healthcare in our area. So the 1515 Beaufort, or 1515 Dufferin Crescent property is the next in our development. The name of that will be Colville Medical Center, a throwback to one of Nanaimo's first names. And the amenity we see coming to the community and the hospital campus is a desperately needed parkade. And to do that, we need to straighten out our back property line rather than have it at a rectangle. It allows us to have more parking in that area. Also, part of our application will see us improve a walkway, which has not been used from Dufferin into the park. There is technically a right-of-way there, which has never been developed into a proper trail. And so as part of our proposal, we will develop that component. We'll do proper landscaping. The parkade we're proposing is open-air parkade. That means that it's illuminated, which means we have the opportunity to provide light not only to the trail leading into the park, but to the parkland that is behind us. We have quite a high crime rate in the hospital area, and something that our hospital campus group is looking at is how do we effectively help work with bring those crime rates down. Met with some of my neighbors last week who are always interested in what we're working on, and one of their comments was, you know, when Millstone Medical Center went in, we saw a dramatic drop in crime in our area. As we populate the area and involve the community people who live there in the area, in the campus concept, our crime rates are slowly going down in that area. As we get the people in the hospital to come out of the hospital and engage in the infrastructure in the hospital, we actually get community involvement on the campus, and that's what we're actually striving to do. So our application today is the first of a couple that you'll see. Like I said, our development permit will come forward to you in the next couple months, showing what the building and the parkade look like. First, we just need to straighten out the property line.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mrs. Haas? No? Hayes? No?
Yes.
Sorry? Oh, Ian. Yeah. Oh, wait a sec. There, you're on.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you very much, Donna. I'm sorry, it's my fault, but I missed the name that you were going to put to this project.
Colville Medical Center.
Oh, Colville, thank you.
Yes.
To me, this is a win-win. It squares up your property, it provides parking, it improves access to the Beaufort Park itself, so looks like a great project. Thank you.
I see no further questions. So thank you very much for the delegation. I need a motion to receive the delegation. Councillor Hong, seconded by Councillor Brennan. All those in favor? Now I have a presentation from Mr. Bill Corson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to probably go over...
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I will probably be repeating a lot of the stuff that Mrs. Hayes just talked about. This is a picture of the site, 1515 Dufferin. This is where the medical offices used to be, and it's now been cleared. And the following diagram is the one that we just saw. So Beaufort Park itself is just around 10 acres in size. Half of it's forested and half of it's open. There's a series of trails in the park. It's an interior park, so to get to it, you actually have to come through these various walkways that have been mostly constructed. The ones from Boundary and Seafield Crescent are there. The one from Dufferin was never built, so it's the one that will be built as part of this project by the developer. This is just an overview to show you the area, so you can see where this site sits next to the hospital and former Dufferin School and the Millstone Medical Clinic. Just to kind of give you some context where the park is. So this is the where the access is. It might be hard to see. You might be able to see the red flags if you have really good eyesight. And that's where the trail will be built through from Dufferin into the park. This is the land that we'll be getting from the developer. So this is the 87.2 square meters, or the 890 square feet of land that comes to the city. That's what we're giving up. And then the next step is just to, under the community charter, when we do a disposition of parkland, we have to get the assent of the electorate. So you'll see that there's this alternative approval process recommended by staff. And if we go down that route, we will be publishing 2 notices in the paper. And then at the end of April, we would know if there's sufficient support for the project or lack of support. And then we'd come back to council on May 2nd to let you know what the results of the vote were. And then the actual land exchange itself would occur on May 30th. So that's kind of that's the highlights.
Any questions? LED? Oops, one second. Sorry.
I know.
Wait a second. Councillor Hong. You're on, Councillor Hong.
I know Donna's work. It'll be LED. Question to you to staff, Chair. Is this trail going to be built to our standards that we want from Parks and Rec, or is that going to be something that the developer's just going to do whatever they feel like?
What's up? There I am. We have our standards for engineering standards, which are our park standards, which the developers have to utilize. So they're built to a park standard.
Thank you.
Now have Councillor Fuller.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
I'll wait until the next part of it, which is the alternate approval process, the form, et cetera, et cetera. Those are where my questions lie.
Okay. So then, Councillor Bestwick, you're on. Sorry.
I didn't see any more speakers, so Mr. Chair, I would so move that Council approve the exchange of privately owned land at 1515 Dufferin Crescent for part of city-owned Beaufort Park at 69 Lorne Place, and authorize the Mayor and Corporate Officer to execute the necessary documents to effect the transaction.
So I have moved by Councillor Bestwick, or second by Councillor Thorpe. Any questions on that? No, not seeing no questions. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried.
I would then,
To the bylaws.
Mr. Chair, go to the bylaw, the Beaufort Park Dedication, Removal, and Disposal Bylaw 2016, number 7225, to remove the park dedication and authorize a disposal of a portion of Beaufort Park past first reading.
I have a seconder for the motion. Councillor Thorpe. Councillor Fuller, did you want to talk or later on the AAP?
I'll leave until.
Okay. So I see no further question. I'll call that question now. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried.
I would so move that Beaufort Park Dedication, Removal, and Disposal Bylaw 2016, number 7225, pass second reading.
Seconded by Councillor Thorpe. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried.
And I would so move that Beaufort Park Dedication, Removal, and Disposal Bylaw 2016, number 7225, pass third reading.
Seconded by Councillor Thorpe. I see that. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. So, we're now on to 8B, the alternative approval process of Beaufort Park Dedication, Removal, and Disposal Bylaw 2016, number 7225. And the purpose of this is to obtain approval to proceed with an alternative approval process for an exchange of privately owned land at 1515 Dufferin Crescent for the part of city-owned land at 69 Lorne Place, known as Beaufort Park. So there's a staff recommendation on our page 3, and that is require a motion to determine the total number of electors of the area to which the approval process applies, the whole city of Nanaimo, to be 64,996. Do we have a move?
I would so move.
Moved and seconded by Councillor Brennan, moved by Councillor Bestwick. Do we need to move these all three at once? They are all one contiguous motion?
If you wish, unless you want to vote independently, but either way works for me.
I think we can encompass them. So there is some people now, so I'll say that all three of those are moved, the determined, the established, and the approved are moved. And Councillor Bestwick, do you have anything?
Yes, please.
Councillor Bestwick, then Councillor Brennan, Councillor Fuller.
Thank you. To Mr. Oh, sorry, I didn't see him leave. To Mr. Corson or Mr. Harding, sorry. Recognizing that the whole of the city to be 64,996, is that a census that we're working off of?
Your Worship, I can answer that question. On page 2 of the report, if you look down at the title, it says fair determination of the total number of electors. It's really an average of the 2014 general local elections. There's a couple of additions, about 1,000 new elector registration from the 2014 general local elections. There's 1,021 new electors since the elections, approximately 60 months, based on a 1.2 population increase per year. It's also about 114 registered non-resident property electors in the 2014 general local elections. So therefore, the fair determination is about 64,996. Sorry it's been so complicated, but that's what the number come out to be.
So it's an eligible voting age. It's not everyone in the community, right?
That is correct. So these are eligible voters on the community.
Thank you.
Councillor Fuller.
Normally, I do not like the alternate approval process. It's a sneaky way of getting things passed quite easily. There is a place where it does belong, and this is one of those places. The sneaky way of getting things passed would have been with the water treatment plant, where we borrowed $20.2 million, and you actually had 3 people sign one of those reports. 3 people in opposition. Very seldom do opposition to AAPs win. There's been 2 that I know of. One in Nanaimo when it came to the expropriation of land. I believe it was expropriation of land out Cable Bay area, and the other was with the HST. So this is a small one. This is where this actually can work. I do question publishing 2 notices in the paper. Now that we only have 1 paper, that means we're going to see 2 notices about this. I'd like people to know that if they do want to sign this form, it's on page 35 of the agenda package. They could print it out, send it off. I'd like to ask staff if there's any way that these forms can be signed online on the city's website. Yeah. We may not get many people wanting to dispute it, but I think the easier we make it to allow them to express that opinion and not just presume or assume that they're in support of it because they didn't fill it out. If we can make it simple for them to fill it out. I seriously doubt you'll find 6,500 people in the community opposed to this. So,
Did you want to attempt to answer that?
Yes, Your Worship, just for clarification, people will have to come to City Hall to sign the AIP. That's the way it works. But certainly we can facilitate the process of this agenda is posted on the website already, so the form is there. And if the council wishes, we can also do some sort of press release where we can direct people to the document as well. Is that something that you want to pursue?
well, I would like to see it for all AAP processes that we do in the future, that, the more opportunity people have to understand that it's happening, that they can actually express that opposition. A lot of people working may not be able to get down to the SARC building in time to sign it before the building closes. So making these things easier for people to do. Recognizing that in this one, it's a good way to do this one. I'm not saying it isn't, but I'd like to see the process easier for people that want to oppose these things to be able to do so.
Thank you. Enough of the audience. Any further?
No.
Councillor Brennan?
Actually, Mr. Chair, I had to push the button just because I wanted to make the motion, and so you can take me off that list.
So I see no other comments. We'll call the question on this. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carried. You had the mover and seconder. Now on to item C, development permit number DP 846 at 2835 Departure Bay Road. The purpose is to obtain council authorization to issue a development permit for a 3-story, 1,525 meter squared mixed-use development. And there is a staff recommendation with a number of issues of development permit.
I would so move staff recommendation.
Okay, I have a seconder for the motion, Councillor Pratt. Is there any questions? No, then I will call the question on the motion to issue. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next is D, development permit number DP 968, that is 1930 and 1940 Boxwood Road in Nanaimo. The purpose to obtain council authorization to issue a development permit for 3 2-story industrial buildings. And I have a motion that council issue the development permit. Do I have a mover?
I'll move the staff recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Thorpe, seconded by Councillor Hong. Any debate on it? No? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Next, item E, development variance permit number DVP 247 at 2260 McGarrigle Road. The purpose to obtain council authorization to reduce the rear yard setback in order to permit an addition to an existing industrial warehouse building. Sorry? Yeah, is there anybody wishing to address council regarding DVP 274? If you can come to the microphone, give us your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Rod Wilborn. I'm a local contractor, live in the Rutherford Road area. Presently on Bradbury Road at 5796. I represent the owner of the building there and have done his work for several years. And I just thought I would appear tonight and try and answer any questions that you might have on this piece.
Is there any questions from council to the delegate? Seeing no questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. Can I move receipt of the delegation? Moved by Councillor Pratt, seconded by Councillor Bestwick. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. So now may I have the motion, council issue the development variance DVP 247 at 2260 McGarrigle. So moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Bestwick. No further debate. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Now I have bylaw contravention notices. Item F of secondary suites. It is requested that council hear anyone wishing to speak to the request to the unresolved building deficiencies for the properties listed below. So anyone willing to speak to 1180 Beaufort Drive, please approach the microphone, give us your name and your address.
You hear me okay?
Yes.
Good. Gordy Ludvigson, residing at 629 Beach Drive, Nanaimo. I'm here today because I just want to try to understand these contravention of bylaws. It sounds like on the surface of it that I've been saying no to something being done at my house. Not true. So I just want an explanation as to what the problem really is here.
Through to staff, Mr. Lindsay, can you help the delegate?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So registering a notice on title is part of council's policy with respect to dealing with illegal suites. So if there's a suite in an existing home, there's an opportunity to come forward and have that suite, what we call authorized, if it's in a long-term existing suite, which would mean life safety issues are addressed. But as part of council's process, a notice is placed on title. And the notice is in recognition of that there was some work done to the building that was done without inspection. So it does two things. The notice alerts future property purchasers that there has been this work, and second, reduces liability to the community, to the city.
Okay, I have a little problem with this because that suite that is in that house was there for over 20 years, according to the real estate board. And I've owned the house since 2004. Nothing has been basically changed, even though I've said I'm going to take out the secondary suite. So I'm wondering why the contravention here. If I've already agreed to, the reason why it hasn't been done yet is because there's tenants there and they refuse to have any work done in there while they live there. They were given notice this morning. 2 months' notice to depart the property.
Yeah. Your Worship, Mr. Chairman, to clarify, there's a number of suites in the community that are probably in a similar situation that are in our existing housing stock that have existed well before 2004. And I mentioned 2004 because that's the date when suites were actually legalized in the community. So not any, but the vast majority of suites that exist prior to that time are considered to be illegal suites. They were built without permit. So the process the city has in place is not to see those suites removed, but for them to address the life safety issues and go through this process. So certainly if you're moving forward with dealing with that and obtaining a building permit and addressing life safety issues, that's great. It still, as part of the process, requires that there be a notice put on the title.
So I go ahead and I finish what I have to do to remove the kitchen, then I got to come back and get a inspection done, right?
If you're electing to actually remove the suite rather than authorize it, there is an opportunity to have the notice discharged once that work's completed. That's correct, yes.
Okay. That's it. Thank you very much.
Councillor Fuller has a question for the delegate.
Yeah, are you aware of how extensive the costs are going to be to remove the suite?
No, it's actually not a lot. I've already moved the stove and had that all.
And have you taken all the wiring out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes.
Okay.
The electrician's already done that.
Okay, cool. Good.
So I just got to remove the cupboards and some piping.
Yeah, because some people find the cost of removing the suite to be very expensive as well. It can be upwards of $30,000. So.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. I've already invested this.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Questions?
No further questions.
Thank you all.
Move receive the delegation, please. Can I have a motion? So moved. Moved by Councillor Thorpe, second by Councillor Pratt. All those in favor? Opposed? So I'll ask again if there's anybody from the public that would wish to address 2706 Beaver Creek Crescent. Do I have to ask 3 for these or just once? No. Anyone like to speak to 125 Bird Sanctuary Drive? Would anybody like to address 128 Bird Sanctuary Drive? 3624 Departure Bay Road? 610 Lambert Street? Or 864 Quilchena Crescent? Seeing no further people requesting, I require a motion.
I would move staff recommendation that council by resolution instruct the corporate officer to file a bylaw contravention notice respecting the properties listed below at the Land Title and Survey Authority of British Columbia under Section 57 of the Community Charter.
Seconder, second by Councillor Thorpe. Do we have questions? Councillor Bestwick, anything?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I got Councillor Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the 1180 Beaufort Drive, if this motion passes, then there will be a Section 57 placed on that title. The owner has already told us that he is in the process of removing the suite. So I know that if the Section 57 is placed on the suite now, when he comes to say to us, it's removed, I've corrected the issue here, I want to remove the Section 57, then he will have some legal fees to pay. I'm wondering whether you could give us your advice on removing 1180 Beaufort Drive off this list, BFing the file for 2 months to see if the work is done, and if so, then there's no need to do a Section 57 or a removal. Is that something that we can consider?
Mr. Chairman, I think that, given what we've heard this evening, that would absolutely be an appropriate response, yes.
Thank you. Then I would move an amendment to the motion to remove 1180 Beaufort Drive from the list.
Seconded by Councillor Fuller. I see no debate on that issue right now, so we'll vote on that specific one. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carried. And staff will do the appropriate re-notification for us on that. Thank you very much. So we still have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other properties on the motion. Is there any further comment? Councillor Fuller, do you have anything?
Yes. I'm always commenting on these every time they come up, I think. And I'm not opposed to the Section 57 thing. Don't get me wrong there, because that does take care of our liability. Now, are we required to do anything other than the Section 57? Because once we've taken care of our liability, are we required to have them address the life safety issues? I'm not saying that I don't want them to. I just want to know if we're required to have them address the life safety issues.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's something that if council wanted to consider, that would be worth probably a more comprehensive review than what I could offer you this evening. Certainly, I would say that it's been council's policy that the two work hand in hand. So I'm sorry, I think we need to give you probably a report on that if you wanted to look at a different approach to secondary suites.
I would really like a report on that, just exactly what the life safety issues is. I know the way some of the requirements in order to make them legal suites is putting in all new drywall between the units, wired in smoke detectors, no access through existing heating vents from one unit to the other. I know those are all in there. You probably have certain size windows. And the way I look at it is, if that suite's been there for 20 years and we've been collecting 2 garbage, 2 sewers, 2 etc., then we've pretty much legitimized that as a suite. However, for me, a life safety issue would be, are there 2 means to escape that unit? As opposed to, just the one access into the unit. Is there at least a window or 2 windows? Are the windows big enough to get out? If a person can get out and the smoke detectors are kept up, to me that addresses the main life safety issues, is being able to escape in the event of a fire. But the costs of bringing them up to speed, and I know we had a bunch of emails, and I'll have to get all of that stuff again, that a lot of people are bringing them up to speed and up to code, but other people can't afford to. And so we are losing affordable units. When they're brought up to code, the rents go up. So are they affordable after that? The ones that are built into new builds are extremely expensive, and for many of the people in the community, they can't afford to rent these based on what they're receiving in wages. So are secondary suites really part of an affordable housing policy when they're out of reach of many of the people that would actually like to use them? So it is a broader discussion. I really think it needs to be had. And when we move further into the priorities in that, and affordable housing policies that would include this, and having more information and more debate on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fuller. May I suggest that typically fire separation, means of egress, or in and out of the bedroom, in and out of the house, heat systems, interconnected smoke alarms are a lot of the updates. And with your point of the initiative on affordable housing, it is important, and I think this would be I think staff would require a bit of an update onto what we go through with the suite inspections and do that. It'd be nice to see that one day, what the Section 57 does cost, because I think Councillor Brennan saved us putting the Section 57 on and saves the person from taking it off, and we can facilitate that in between. So, but it definitely needs to be sent to the affordable housing, because there's a lot of suites in town that are reasonable living quarters that do become somewhat disenfranchised from the affordability when you have to really upgrade them. I don't know if there's any ability for a period of time, a 10-year time to fix it, or a 5-year time, but life safety on these places is the issue. And
to follow up on what I was saying, that's the debatable part, the life safety as an issue. And if Section 57 is eliminating our liability, how far are we obligated to go towards that?
Actually, what that does, Section 57 advises the new purchaser that was on. So it really doesn't waive our liability, because we still continue to have people change what is there.
Actually, it says right in here, it waives our liability by putting it on there.
So, Councillor Pratt.
Thank you. I just have one question for staff, and that is that of these 6 that we are putting the 57 on, I noticed that 3 of them are authorized suite, 4 of them are authorized suites, which I'm assuming means that they have made application to change, to upgrade. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. That a building permit specifically has been applied for, and they're addressing the life safety issues in those units. That's correct.
Okay, so do we give them a certain amount of time before we put the Section 57 on, or do we put it on immediately when they apply?
Well, the Section 57 notice, if this motion passes, or a motion like this would pass on any application we bring forward, goes on immediately.
Okay.
But it's an important point, I think, to make here is that if someone authorizes a suite that was previously built without permit, and so it was never fully inspected, the policy requires that notice be put on title even for those units. So even these authorized units, if they go through that building permit process, address life safety, that notice will still be on title.
Thank you.
Mrs. Sammer, did you have?
I think that as part of an affordable housing strategy and housing generally, that it is timely to have a review of city policy on it and risk management analysis.
Thank you very much. We'll probably have it after. We have a motion on the floor for these ones. I'm going to call the question on the motion now. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Do we require a secondary motion to ask for a review of secondary suites? Or will you be better to look at the plan that we've got going now and all the issues and see where we can fit it in?
You can have a motion, otherwise it continues in play as you're setting your priorities.
Anybody willing to make a motion on it to move it for affordable? Councillor Pratt or Councillor Fuller?
I would make that motion. Despite the fact that it is part of our priorities, I would still make the motion to do it so that we're assured of doing it in a timely fashion.
Of secondary suites?
Yes.
Okay. And I have a seconder?
I did.
Councillor Pratt? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Thank you. Now I have advisory committee and commission minutes. The Cultural and Heritage Commission meeting of January 6, 2016. Special Open Manager Select Committee meeting held January 11, 2016. And the Special Open Culture and Heritage Grant Appeal Committee meeting held January 20th, 2016. Mover, Councillor Pratt. Seconder, Councillor Yocum. Nothing, no questions? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed. Community Services, Part 9. Travel Assistance Grant, Nanaimo Youth Choir. The purpose to obtain council approval for the Travel Assistance Grant. And it's a recommendation to approve the application for a travel assistance grant to the Nanaimo Youth Choir in the amount of $1,200 for 12 choristers who will attend Distinguished Concert International, New York, June 8th through June 13, 2016. Oh, yes. Attachment. Okay. Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Thorpe. Is there any? Okay, I'll call the question on that. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Now we have aligning water restrictions regionally. The purpose to obtain council direction regarding alignment of water restrictions framework for the major water service areas in the region to minimize confusion, improve implementation, and increase clarity for the public and business. Does the staff want to discuss this, introduce of how it came about because of last year's water restrictions and things? Mr. Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As Council is well aware, we had a drought last summer. We also went to our Stage 2, or we call it Conservation Level 2, watering restrictions for the first time ever. The regional district went to Level 4, which was an all-out ban. The province was talking about a Stage 4 drought, and we all just suffered from the mix-up in communication. And it became very obvious to many people that we needed to get on the same page. As well with the water conservation strategy that Council approved in 2014, that was one of the goals to deal with, is to align our watering restrictions. So over the past winter, under the leadership of Team WaterSmart at the Regional District of Nanaimo, we gathered all of the water suppliers together and sort of hammered out the framework that you see in front of you. It's a slight change for many, but it seems to balance the needs of both operational needs and communications needs for all of the water suppliers.
Thank you very much. So is there any questions of staff? I need a motion to support the adoption of the proposed region-wide standard watering restriction framework for the city of Nanaimo and receive the report pertaining to the Water Works Rate and Regulation Amendment Bylaw 2016, number 7004.11. So can I have that moved? Moved by Councillor Pratt, seconded by Councillor Hong. No debate? I'll call a question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Now the bylaw. And somebody who wants to move the bylaws? Councillor Pratt, move the Waterworks Regulation Amendment Bylaw number 2016 7004.11 to enact the regulation concerning restriction of the use of drinking water. This is for the passing first reading. Moved by Councillor Pratt, seconded by Councillor Thorpe. All in favor? Carried. No one opposed. Second motion for second reading. Moved by Councillor Pratt, seconded by Councillor Thorpe. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Now the third one for pass third reading. Councillor Thorpe seconded the motion by Councillor Pratt. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Now we have property maintenance bylaw number. Oh, sorry, Ms. Salmon.
I wanted to take an opportunity to point out that with Council meeting with Sunamic First Nation in the near future, this is an item that would be an example of a consultation and engagement with the First Nation on. I understand they were invited to sit at the round table, but were absent consultation on this. So I just wanted to flag this as something going forward that we should consider having on our radar.
Thank you very much. So I am on now property maintenance bylaw 1990 number 3704. And it'll be requested that anyone wishing to speak with respect to the property maintenance for the properties listed below, and that is 711 Nickel Street. Is anyone wishing to address 711 Nickel Street? Seeing none. 2485 Marlborough Drive. Anybody willing?
So, Your Worship, that's removed from the agenda?
Oh, was it? That was the one. Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you. I see two. And 1092 St. David Crescent. Anyone wanting to speak to the address council? Oh. What number? Come on down. St. David Crescent. Come on down. Can you give us your name and your address?
William David Stewart. I live at 1092 St. David Crescent. I have been there probably 21 years. And it is a piece of property that used to be pristine. I have no problems with the cleanup. The problem that I am having at this point in time is time to do it. Because I'm trying to balance someone moving out of the house, which left me. I was looking after kids. My dad got moved into a home, so some of the items were his items. So, yeah, I'm not prepared because I would have had pictures of what the house looked like a year and a bit ago. But finances have been one of my biggest issues. And some of the items I would like to clarify, like there's what they said was an old fridge. That was actually my fish smoker, but we threw it out just to, appease. I had someone buying the fifth, or not the fifth wheel, the trailer. The boat trailer is to be sold. It just needs a couple little brackets, and I can sell that for money. The chain link fencing was an issue because I had the ex had dogs, and the dogs were in the chain link. I had to rip it all down because we didn't have any sewer, so we had to dig all that out, and I had to find a place to put it. So everything's in this transition because lots happen in my world. So what I'm just asking for, there has been some changes. There has been stuff that's been moved, and I just need time.
How much time would you require to do this? What are you looking at? This is a 14-day notice that we have. It's a 14-day notice for this. What do you require for time that you would suggest?
If I had, the way I've been working right now, I'm working at the fish plant, which has been 13 hours today, and it's just been, we were called, and then I came back to town. I was trying to clean it up, but by the time I got to Nanaimo, I had to turn around and head on back again. So I'm just trying to get hours that I can, because I was actually looking after the kids when they moved out.
So again, What do you think? I know it's a long list.
If I had another month, I would have a better chance of trying to do some of these things. Like I say, I had a bunch of, the trailer was going somewhere. It fell
Councillor
through.
Yoakum.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you, first of all, Stuart, for coming in this evening. And I have no problem. You've been very genuine, very sincere, and lots on your plate. I think it'd be very fair. We've done this in the past. I have no problem, Mr. Chair, to make a 90-day motion for this gentleman to get good. He has to do what he has to do. So it's 90 days. I have no problem making that motion.
Do we have a seconder on it? We also have a seconder for that. So, anything further on your side now?
No, that would sure make things alive. A lot of things have happened in the last little while, and that would definitely help. And
so we have that motion on the floor now, and we can deal with that separately at this point too. So, anything further from you? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? The motion's carried. Thank you very much. Move receipt of the delegation, please. Moved by Councillor Pratt, second by Councillor Hong. All those in favor? Boom. Now I have again 711 Nickel Street I've asked for, and I have one more, 707 Nickel Street. Is anyone willing to address council on 707 Nickel Street? Failing that, then I have the two addresses, and I need a motion that council, pursuant to the property maintenance bylaw number 1990-3704, direct the owners of the following properties to remove the materials as listed below from the premises within 14 days, or the work will be done by the city or its agents at the owner's cost. Motion? Motion by Councillor Bestwick, second by Councillor Pratt. No debate. Oh.
Yeah, and for clarifications for those two properties, so 711 Nico Street and 707 Nico Street.
Yes, sorry, for the two. So that's in the motion. So, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Okay, and now bylaws with no accompanying reports. I need a motion that the Southwest Bulk Water Rate Amendment Bylaw 2016 number 7099.04, that is to amend the rate for bulk water supply to Southwest Extension Waterworks District, be adopted. So moved by Councillor Thorpe, seconded by Councillor Hong. No discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. I need a motion that the highway closure, excuse me, and dedication removal on unnamed lane adjacent to 867 Bruce Avenue and 5388 8th Street, bylaw 2016, number 7223, pass the third reading. Moved by Councillor Bestwick, second by Councillor Pratt. No debate. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. I have a motion that the Financial Plan Amendment Bylaw 2016, number 7206.03, to amend the 2015 to 2019 Financial Plan be adopted.
I so move.
Moved by Councillor Pratt, seconded by Councillor Hong. Any questions? Councillor Brennan.
Thank you. I have been asking several times on how I might ask to have, and I think I'm in the right place, Ms. Samra, to ask that there be a particular work on a sidewalk near to the hospital where there's been several complaints. And I did talk to Mr. Goodall way back when the complaints were coming in, and he said that it would likely be a matter of council asking to move this particular sidewalk reconstruction or construction from the 2019 budget to the 2017 budget. And I have been asking for some direction on how and when I might be able to make that request. And now I'm worried that we're at the amendment bylaw adoption phase, and I still haven't had an opportunity to ask council to consider that movement and to have the engineering department speak to it. So now I'm asking for direction from you, Ms. Samra.
I think you have plenty of time to talk about putting it on the 2017 plan, because we're not in that phase yet, and we're still working through the capital projects. So I think in our next Well, it's on the record now, so I'll take that under advisement.
Okay.
But when we're going through the 2017, there's no problem with council moving projects that are in 17, 18, 19, and forward into a different year.
Because we're doing the 5-year plan, so
It's really it's a 5-year plan, but really what you're approving is the 2016, and it's an amendment that goes back to other projects that have already been expended, and you haven't done your final, so there's still plenty of room.
So is there a flag that can be put on this so that it doesn't sort of slip under everybody's radar and suddenly it's too late?
Councillor Brennan, you put the flag up for me, so I have it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yocum.
Thank you. Just in regards to that conversation, just seeing how knowing we're going through our strategic plan sessions and finance and whatnot, I'm sure if, I don't know this area that Councillor Brennan is referring to, but if there's a sidewalk, a road that's a detriment or a health and hazardous condition to any of our wonderful citizens, I'm sure our engineering experts and experts in the field are on top of that ASAP.
Their structuring of what capital projects need to be undertaken is looking at what represents risk and liability for the city and what needs to be worked on in the immediate future. So yes, it is.
So the reason I bring that up is because I was wondering if we all have personal areas we want flagged, or is there experts that actually do this for us? I know the answer to that, so I just want to know if that's the process. Well, I've got a few neighborhoods that need a lot of things too. Thank you.
I'll just be following up with Jeff on my weekly meeting about this issue, and we'll take a look at where he has it in his plan. It's new to me, and it's pretty easy for me to ask questions about that.
One sec, Councillor Brennan. I'll let Councillor Brennan go first.
I just would add to that Mr. Goodall has been out and did review the sidewalk area, and that was his suggestion to me that I try to handle it that way. So it wasn't really my engineering lens on it, which is probably not the best. So.
Councillor Fuller?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I recognize our city staff does a great job at repairing things when they're brought to their attention, especially if they're a hazard. I once reported some bricks out of those little placement bricks that they'd got in that were out of place that were a tripping hazard, and within hours they were fixed. So hopefully if it's that easy, it gets fixed a lot quicker than 2017. But if it's a major project, then I understand they do have a sidewalk plan. So it'll be interesting.
Thank you. So I do have a motion on the floor for the financial plan to be adopted. Councillor Hong, no, it was moved and seconded, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. So I don't see any further debate on it, so I'll call the question. All those in favor and opposed? Motion carried. The sidewalk issue is important to us right now. I think there has been an accident recently in an area, and the lighting and the darkness, and it is tough sometimes for staff to move, but if those areas are dangerous, we need to move on them fast. So thank you. I see no correspondence.
Your Worship. With your indulgence, we ask Council to defer consideration item 14A to the next meeting, if you will allow us to do that.
14A? So
14A, that was a presentation from the city manager. Sorry.
We're going to pass that off?
If you're okay with that, we defer to next week.
That's easy. Would you prefer that, staff?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. I have no problem with that. Need a motion on other business to defer?
Yes, please.
Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Pratt. All in favor?
And I have one more clarification to make in regards to the question of Councillor Fuller. I gave you raw information for the AAP. You can also mail it as well. So you can come to City Hall and sign it up. It is available on our website, but it can also be mailed as well. Cannot be emailed or faxed because we need an actual signature, but it could be mailed, a regular mail.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you very much for that update. So, question period. I see nobody. Oh. Sorry, Craig. Just kidding. Not so fast. Oh, Ms. Samra? Go ahead, Ms. Samra.
Just before the close of the meeting, I'd like to say a few words.
Okay. Thanks. Mr. Taylor.
Red Taylor, 204 Emery Way. The list of secondary suites that was before you tonight, when was the city aware of that list?
I don't see the staff person here at it. Mrs. Samra? There was a question. Do you have any idea of, was it the list of the most recent, the property maintenance bylaw, those ones, or the other ones? Oh, here comes Dale. I'll pass you through to Mr. Lindsay. Nice try getting out of here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, sorry, when were we aware of these individual properties, or when was a list created?
Properties, your secondary suites, how long have you been aware of them? I would believe it's recent. This is why the action.
I can't speak to each of them without reviewing the files, but we do have, there was a long list of suites that were known when we legalized suites in 2004. So we have that list that we're working through, but we also have suites that come to our attention that may have existed prior to 2004 that get added to that list. So without looking at each individual file, I'm sorry, I can't give you an answer off the top of my head.
If you can take a few words here for my next question, I would believe it was a theory of the number that existed when you adopted this secondary suite program. You didn't know exactly each address where they were, and therefore I question to Councillor Fuller, when these addresses become known, yes, I believe you start charging double water and sewer, but prior to them becoming known, I don't think there was any water and sewer double charges. Even the list of 4,000 or so that you suspect, you're not getting double water and sewer from them.
If we have a reason, Mr. Chairman, to believe that there's a suite, so if it comes to our attention, we can start charging double user rates immediately, and that has occurred. But obviously, if we're unaware of the suite, we can't charge double user rates for it. But when it comes to our attention, it gets added to the list. It is charged double user rates, and when we work through the list and get to it in terms of a suite inspection, that's done at that time.
So one may suspect that these are new to your attention and there hasn't been any long-term double water and sewer charging.
Well, I would suggest...
Well, I'm just raising that question because of Councillor Fuller saying all the money we've been collecting for double water and sewer, and I don't think you have unless you're aware of them. And I would even challenge you that when the theory in following the secondary suite issue, the theory was 4,000 out there, but you weren't collecting double water and sewer from them because you didn't know where they were.
No, there was an estimate of some 3,000, I remember.
You don't collect the double water and sewer, though, let's face it.
But typically what I understand is when the garbage trucks are driving around and they start to see double garbage cans coming out, they make a note, and then someone from bylaw or building inspection proceeds to investigate.
Then they come on the list.
Then they get on the list.
Then, yes.
Yes, I believe that's true.
Now,
not just from insight.
Thank you. Now,
can I talk to that?
Well,
Please?
Mr. Fuller would like to address that. Go ahead.
I know of some that have been there. The city has been collecting garbage, water, etc., for over 20 years on these places, and they haven't come before us. Some of them are coming before us now. Beaconsfield Road, I believe, had a whole whack of them at one time. They have been aware they're there, so they've been collecting those rates, but they haven't come before us right off the bat.
Aware of collecting the rates, why is the issue not coming to council?
Well, because we didn't have a bylaw until 2004.
Didn't start that till the bylaw started, sir.
No, they collected double rates prior to that.
And in fairness to what you've done on some of the suites here tonight, authorized suite, safety problems, I understand, been solved, etc. And for instance, you're looking at one delaying, saving, putting in anything, sections on title. Is that safety things just by a list by the city that to correct in the suite itself, like smoke alarms or whatever? Is that what you're requesting? Is that list to bring up the safety standards?
I think I'll address part of that and then go to staff. The inspection department looks through the suite, takes photographs, documents it, and then usually gets back to the person with a letter stating what improvements they require for safety, egress, and those.
Okay.
I can pass on to staff now if there's anything further.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only thing I would add is that our inspection really focuses on 3 areas under life safety, and I was spoken to a little bit earlier this evening, but it's really detection, so fire alarms, hardwire, interconnected smoke detectors, exiting, so people can get out of the building in the event of a fire, and spread, the fire separation between the suite and the principal dwelling unit. So those are the 3 areas of life safety that we'll look at.
Heat system, isn't it?
Heat system is a factor of spread. So if you have, for example, a typical furnace that's heating the whole home, often we'll see a response is they'll just heat the principal unit and go to electric baseboards in the basement to deal with that issue of smoke spread in case of a fire.
Perfect. Now, how do you address all the other illegal construction in that suite that you haven't inspected to start with? In fairness, it should be the section of the Act placed on there because you don't know all the other construction. You're only addressing some safety factors. And in fairness to all the other ones that you're saying authorized suite but put the section on, that's protecting all the extra construction of walls, etc., to create rooms that you haven't inspected the installation of.
Mr. Chairman, that's correct. That is exactly what we do. So unless
Well, you don't ask for walls to be removed and everything, and you haven't inspected them.
Mr. Taylor?
Sorry, maybe I misunderstood the speaker, but that's...
What I would suggest is, because of the date of the construction, if a person can prove that the stuff was done before 2004, and with the codes, the building codes that existed prior to 2004, where we didn't allow secondary suites, all we did at 2004 was say they were now allowed to be acceptable in a single-family residential. And so what we also did during that time is grandfathered some of the old construction, or grandparent, I don't know if I can say grandfather.
Have a policy, acting mayor, of safety standards. You don't inspect the rest. That's why the thing on title protect all the other construction in, say, a basement is covered for liability.
Thank you. Mr. Thorpe?
Thank you, Chair. No, it's not regarding Mr. Taylor. I was going to ask your indulgence if we could back up to other business. Mr. Harding has just reminded me of the delegation from minor baseball, and I think it might be appropriate to take some action on that, if that's allowable to council.
Yeah, go ahead.
My suggestion would be a request that staff bring us a report on their thoughts on this lighting project for the 3rd Street fields. I don't know if that's
Seconded by Councillor Hong.
if that is
as a motion or
sufficient.
back on that. Yeah, I think that is. Anything further?
No, that was it.
Councillor Bestwick?
Thank you. With respect to the motion, we learned this evening that there is some time sensitivity to the request, and the report to come back from staff then would have to come back in a timely manner, not just on the lighting project itself, I suspect, and then its benefits or other, but where a funding source exists or otherwise. So will it contain where potential funding sources may be to assist this project?
Mr. Chairman, through the Councillor Bestwick, absolutely. There's a number of options for council, particularly with this project, which, by the way, we think is a lighting of a ball field, particularly baseball fields, is something we need to proceed with. There's a few processes with that particular field. We just have to go through with, we have a joint partnership with VIU on that field, so we just have to liaise with them. and a few other, those fields were built with no lights intended, so we'll just need to do a few assessments on the lighting. But funding, one of the interesting parts of lighting is actually is one of those projects you can do under Parks DCCs. So council may want to just, we'll come back with some funding options, so that's one option right off that you can use for Parks DCCs.
Follow-up, Councillor Bestwick?
Yes, please. And will we have this, knowing that I think they mentioned something about 2 weeks, will we have something before us in advance of, or for next Monday, the 14th? Or the 21st, or whatever the earliest date is possible?
Yeah, I'll confirm with the city manager on what we get on the agenda, but the report's relatively simple, so we can turn that around. There will be some assessment with it, but I think what really is required for baseball is approval, at least approval in principle or approval with some sort as they go forward with it, as it is it would be a 217 plan. So council could approve it in principle, and then we can also do some of the other detailed issues as the grant moves through. And if
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Brennan?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing as Councillor Bestwick, and just ask that it be an expedited report so that it can be in front of us and a decision can be made in time for their deadline that they have with the Blue Jays.
Thank you very much. Councillor Yoakum?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Probably somewhat a little out of context, but I alluded to earlier, not alluded to, I just asked what's happening with Roxman. I was wondering if, I don't know, it would be at Councillor Thorpe's Parks committee level, or who would talk to the school board, because I got a little bit of angst about Roxman. I know it's totally off topic, but I still have a little bit of angst, and we got to have a political conversation on that, because I heard some rumblings, there's some potential people that want that removed, and if there is, watch out, because Roxman's an important part of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so did we vote on the motion? No.
It's been moved and seconded, Your Worship.
It's been moved second, so I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. Now, question period. Seeing no further question period, I need a motion to adjourn. What? Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't written on my notes.
I know. I just wanted to say thank you to the community members that have been sending me their congratulations and expressing their support in me taking over the role as CAO. It means a lot to me, and I just wanted to make a point of saying that on the record. And obviously, thank you to each and every one of you for voting to have me be the CAO.
Welcome. Motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? An hour and a half. Wow.